As I was putting this presentation together, I was thinking about the journey that we as Phillips 66 went on. And I was reminded it truly is a journey. And it's not just what we did, it's why we did it. And so I wanted to take you guys along that journey and focus on the why a lot. And then we'll get in, obviously, into the what and that we'll talk about. And so this really indicates and kind of encapsulates the two problem statements that we all have. One is, at the end of the day, we need data, right? It was brought up earlier in the previous presentation. And regardless of industry, there's various issues and challenges that we all face that keep our equipment from running at its optimal performance all the time. And you need data to help solve that, help keep you out of LPOs or lost profit opportunities, et cetera. And so like many in this room, we want to reduce the number of lost profit opportunities. We've got to keep our stuff running. And so as problem solvers, we need data. Okay, yeah, Chris, cool, that's simple. So what's the big issue? So our problem and others within our industry and many of you all in other industries, our data's in silos. It's not easily accessible. It's accessible for the people with boots on the ground to solve the problems locally at the site, but if we tried to take a step back, and I'll try not to literally take a step back, it's helping to solve it at a much larger or macro level. And so if you can solve some of those problems at the macro level, then you're solving the big rocks, and then magically money falls out of trees generally. So let's start our journey. So if we're going to break down the data in silos, we'd have to address the various challenges that have made this difficult for us and anybody else to start with. And so in our sake, our operational data is at 12 to 15 different sites, various refineries, refining, midstream locations, different plants all across the world, behind firewalls. Okay, so that's challenge one. If we did move the data, how would users even search or interact with the data? You've got to have context. You can't just have the data itself. And obviously, anybody that has operational technology data, they're always concerned about the cybersecurity components. How do you keep that data secure? How do you ensure that the right people have access to this and not the bad guys that want to do bad things to your data? And then even if somehow we did address all of those first three concerns, how can the cloud handle our scale with as much data that we all generate from an OT perspective? And just to give you a sense from a Phillips 66 perspective, we're talking 16,000 bits of information every second. So that's 500 billion events a year. That's a lot of data. And then not to mention, even getting to that point, it will take years to move our data. This is at least where we started. Insert transformation, right? And so with our transformation, we had a lot of conversations with our business, refining, midstream, et cetera, around driving value enablement projects or initiatives. And so we knew that if we were going to get any money, we had to focus, like I said, on those big rocks and adopt an enterprise-first mindset. And so instead of trying to focus locally at the respective sites for their various issues, we decided to sit people in a room, have the conversations, and understand what their various use cases were. And magically, this site's issue is very similar to this site's issue, which is similar to this site's issue. And if you can bottle those up and box them up into big rocks, again, the money starts to fall out of trees. And so it was no longer an issue of should we do this, it's how fast can you do this? The demand was there. And so we knew that based upon the different use cases and personas, and I'm really focused on personas as well because it's not always fit for purpose. I said in a presentation earlier where a gentleman was talking about, hey, I'm an executive and I don't care about all that data. I just want to know when the check engine light is on. That resonated, right? Because we're very similar. So based on your various personas, you have to have fit for purpose dashboards. Data for the sake of data is sometimes dangerous. And so you have to make sure that you're doing things for specific reasons. So anyway, based on our different use cases, we need to be able to solve real-time issues and interpolated. So machine learning and modeling, et cetera, troubleshooting versus historical trending analysis, that kind of stuff. We knew that we wanted to have co-located data sources. So having all of your data, your OT and your business system information, ERPs, et cetera, all in a singular location certainly makes it a lot easier for self-service reporting, for advanced analytics, et cetera. And you can start to solve more complex challenges like mechanical integrity, et cetera. And so we knew that the data had to be easily accessible, both internally and externally. Internally, again, I mentioned the self-service use cases, but externally, we integrate with a lot of different partners, upstream and downstream of us. And like many of you, we're on our sustainability journey as well, and we have to interact with government agencies for regulatory compliance. And so we needed the data to be not only accessible for internal use, but readily available for permits as we're trying to create a new refinery on the West Coast, or we're trying to do something else. We want to be able to attain that data more easily from an accessibility perspective. And just like any transformation, you're always going to focus on automation, right? Because there's efficiencies. And in our case, we wanted the data and the ingestion pipelines to be as automated as possible so that the people that are truly problem solving are not data wranglers. They're actually solving a problem. They're looking at the analytics. They're looking at the data to make decisions. So now that I've kind of talked about why and some of the requirements that we had, let's get into the what and why and what we actually did. Simply put, we called Uptake. Uptake Fusion, with Uptake Fusion, we have a secure, scalable OT data pipeline that easily moves our data to Azure Data Explorer. Okay? It fits our strategy and architecture at Phillips 66. So from a data hub perspective, we're already on Azure. All of our business system data is starting to move to Azure, and a lot of it was already there from a refining perspective. And so selling that to EA was not a big deal. It was much easier. By bringing your operational technology data, I'm just going to keep calling it OT data now. By bringing all of your OT data and the context into Azure Data Explorer, you now have the ability to solve much more complex challenges. You can migrate data into various warehouses, co-locating with other data sources, building your digital twins, if you will. Insights layers for sharing dashboards, again, fit-for-purpose dashboards for various decision-making. For reports, internal, external, whatever it may be. And then, for me, the most important piece is it's searchable, right? So because you're leveraging the power of Azure Data Explorer, Synapse, et cetera, you have data catalogs that you can then integrate with. So folks can say, I just want to understand X amount of data, boom, here's everything, right? So this allows us to not only meet the challenges and the use cases that we have today, but also allows us to be thinking for the next generation. And with Uptake Fusion, we were able to shorten that runway. Had we tried to do this ourselves, we're looking at 18 months plus, right? Just with the data movement part. Forget the context, just the data movement. And so if we kind of start looking to the right now, this is just a high-level architectural diagram. And what you'll see is you're coming from, at least from a Phillips perspective, you're coming from our enterprise Pi system, which is replicated from all the Pi systems that we have at all of our sites. So we have a Pi-to-Pi connection. So we were able to solve a lot of our challenges by having an enterprise Pi. From there, we're moving into 3 different resource groups. There's a refining resource group, a midstream resource group, and then kind of our secret sauce resource group, which is our restricted confidential. That allows us to keep that private, very secure information around like needle coke, for example, in a secure enclave so that not everybody else has access to it. And then again, because we have these different resource groups, and then you've got Synapse, you've got everything else from an Azure Data Explorer perspective, you can now create your pipelines for co-location of data, you've got your real-time use cases that you can execute on, et cetera. And so lastly, from an automation perspective, now that you have all of your data into a singular location, reporting, dashboarding, regulatory compliance, sustainability, reporting to the EPA, which is a real thing, SEC coming up soon, right, for all of your sustainability metrics, financial reports, dashboarding to various levels of leadership, improved visibility, right? We think that we know some of the KPIs that we want to focus and measure on, but with more data, you start to understand, hey, maybe I'm looking at this wrong. Providing more insights into our assets, driving improved mechanical integrity, machine learning and automation, advanced models for process optimization, automating once manual processes like data gathering, calculations, et cetera, again, driving for sustainability, now becomes automated. Eventually, autonomous intelligent supply chains, simulation AI-driven what-if scenario planning for climate risk analysis, helping to reduce the ever-growing demand for greenhouse gas emissions, scope 1, scope 2, not just the reporting side of things, but actionable insights that can help you meet your goals. And so for us, Uptake Fusion is a critical piece to helping solve complex business challenges, both now and in the future. It's the convergence of OT and IT data that shortens the runway to value realization. So that's it for me.